Welcome to SEL in EDU.
where we discuss all things social and emotional in education.
I'm Krista.
And I'm Craig, and we are your hosts on this journey.
This podcast is created in partnership with Pennsylvania ASCD.
Hello, go, SEL and EDU family. This is your time. We are so excited to welcome you back. Krista, how are you holding up? How's your heart today?
My heart is overfilling, and as soon I thought you were going to break out into song. I was going to get ready to start dancing and let's go. My heart is full today. The weather's been nice. I know we talk about weather a lot. I will say I started working out in the mornings. I get myself together. You guys have been inspiring me, but I'm sore. I have muscles I didn't know I had. But but my spirit and my heart is good. How are you?
I too am doing well. Great to just be in space and time with you and our wonderful guest that we have today. But I last week did some self-care, and I got this 2-hour massage by someone my partner recommended. And I've done massage several times. I'm one who likes to lift and work out and stuff like that. But there was something that, this masseuse amplified in regards to when you talk about muscles you didn't know, the things that he did to move and stretch my body in ways I didn't know were possible. Mm-hmm. Like he got this thing in my neck and he just rolled his thumb around. I was like, oh, we don't know each other like this. I don't understand. How you find a place that I didn't know existed.
Yep.
I'm like, do we need a date? No, I'm just playing.
You will be back. You'll be back. 3 years ago, I met a good friend of mine. We're good friends now, but she does deep tissue work. And holy cow, I drink water. I take a leave before I go see her. And she finds knots and she names them. She's like, oh, this one wasn't here before. I'm like, get it out.
Wow.
But it's life-changing.
Okay.
Yeah. It's
life-saving, life-giving.
Yes. Yes.
Life after life after life. We have a wonderful guest today, Krista, that I think we are going to be blown away by. And I say, listeners, just lean in and get ready. So I would love to introduce our guest, Lisa Pepper Satkin, who is the founder and executive therapeutic coach, has a lot of really great things that I'm going to talk about right now. Lisa is a licensed psychotherapist, a Brene Brown certified Dare to Lead facilitator. Through the powerful tools of psychotherapy and the insightful techniques of coaching, she empowers successful executives, high-achieving leaders, and driven individuals to transcend negative thinking, which I'm going to appreciate. Harness their inner wisdom and manifest lasting transformation. Lisa's created executive therapeutic coaching and consulting. She has a master's degree and over 25 years of experience contributing to client success. And I found out that she was award-winning or noted recently for all of the wonderful work that she does on behalf of women, which we might get into today. I don't know, but I just think that that's pretty awesome. Whether or not it's the state of California, the nation, or San Francisco, I think I just saw that. But anyway, I'm gonna keep closing. I'm gonna say this. Lisa also created my Hearty Kid, a fabulous program that teaches kids to have fun with social emotional learning. She commits her free time to volunteering and classroom teaching to young people and also to some of the educators who stand with them about self, which is social emotional learning made fun. You can definitely connect with Lisa in many ways, but check out myheartykid.com. She happily provides My Hearty Kid free to educators. Lisa, welcome to SEL and EDU, the podcast. How are you? How's your heart today?
I love that question because you guys don't probably know this about me, but I am very known for my hearts. And I find hearts in the world and I post them all the time. And I think what it is, it's an indicator of what you focus on shows up. And my children's book that I wrote is about a little girl having anxiety, and she learns how to refocus her mind away from the angsty fear and starts to find hearts in the world. And so it's a perfect question to launch me into your podcast, because it's all about social emotional learning. Really is about teaching our kids how to have power within their thoughts, right? And how to really operationalize that power, to learn what to do with it. And then if we teach our teachers that, then they get to teach the kids, and then the kids get to teach their parents, because probably a lot of the parents really need it the most of all, right? So that's a good intro for me, all about the heart.
Oh. Well, it's so we're so glad to have you here today. So one of the wonderful questions I could ask is I'm stealing this from Bakari Sellers' podcast. I just listened to Bakari, who is check him out. Anyway,
Okay.
could you share a little bit more about the arc of your career in all the work that you do, and what has you right here shining a light in our world at this point in our universe?
Yeah, when I was 10, I knew something was off in my own home. And that's like a whole other podcast, a whole other genre probably. But I asked to start therapy, and I met this really cool woman who let me have a voice and highlighted what my truth was. She kept asking me to mine for the pearls that I knew were inside. And one of them was intuition. Now, I probably didn't know that word then, but I knew what I knew, and she honored it. And so I had this very young experience of knowing what was sparked in me and having somebody else reflect that in the affirmative and said, yeah, keep going, keep going. So then I carried on, and I taught my friends about this. I'm in the 3rd grade leading girls groups at recess. I grew up in a state that was predominantly Mormon, and I did not grow up Mormon, and I knew my friends weren't allowed to swear. And so I would gather them at lunchtime and teach them how to swear, because I think it's good to know how to swear. Sometimes swear words are really effective.
Your
And
mic is perfect.
right?
Oh my God.
I taught my kids that, and now I think it's overused. So we have to, keep going forward and, forward and back with some of the skills that we learned. And I just loved being in groups and with circles. And I don't think that ever changed. I ended up studying abroad in high school. So that was another group of all the foreign exchange students. And then I traveled abroad in college, and I just kept manifesting healing circles wherever I was. And so then I finally decided to go to graduate school in psychology, in my late 20s. And naturally it was going to be psychology because I loved it so much. And this beautiful quick story, when I finished graduate school, I ran into my original therapist at a party. She was out, we were out someplace, and I recognized her hands because in our sessions, she used to smoke cigarettes. That's now aging myself. Like, if a therapist can smoke in your session, you know how young I am. Anyway, we would eat donuts and she would smoke cigarettes, and her dog would stand up at 10 to the hour. That's when sessions were still just 50 minutes. And I ran into her, and she was an older woman by then, and I invited her to my party, and I got to feed her at my own graduation party. It was really beautiful, and I knew I had made the right move following in her footsteps. She had cataracts, and so she needed some extra TLC. And in graduate school, I loved working with kids. I loved the schoolwork. I loved the applying creative tools to help kids really get the imprint of the teaching. And then when my own daughter was in kindergarten, her best friend was afraid to raise her hand to go to the bathroom. And my little one told me about this. And that's Ella in my whole program. And I said to Ella, if you practice being brave, I'll make you a surprise at the end of the week. And this little girl like lit up. And every day I would pick up my own daughter and she would say, I was brave, I was brave. And so by the end of the week, I had to invent something. And so I made this little heart-headed toy for her. And it says, I am brave. And she loved it. And so all the kids loved it. So I was like, well, maybe I'm on to something. So I ended up trying to make this business, which was not very successful as a business, but was very successful as a program. I know those kids still today. And I run into kids in my community and they're like, you're that Hearty Kid lady. I remember you. You're the first person who blank. You're the first person who believed in me or saw me or talked to me or listened to me. And so I built this program and then I've, had to work. I've had to do everything. So it needs a program. It needs like Oprah or, Meghan and Harry or someone to say, okay, here is a big chunk of change. Go make books, go give it to schools, and it will happen one day. I know it will happen. It just hasn't happened yet. And so then here I am. I landed with you. I'm a therapist. I'm a coach. I weave it all together. Like you said, I'm a certified Dare to Lead facilitator with Brené Brown's body of work, which I got certified in 2019 with 399 other people. She only trained 400 of us. And I don't know that she's doing it again. But I get to be in the world leading that body of work as well. And so I'm kind of a woman of a lot of passions. And good thing I have a lot of energy because I do it all, I try and do it all anyway.
I love the energy that you're exuding. And it reminds me very much of Craig's energy as well. So I know we don't do these videos anymore, but sometimes like when Craig pops on, I just feel it and I'm smiling and you have that same energy. And I appreciate you sharing your story. And it's getting me think about how important it is to help children recognize their strengths and their gifts and to honor their truth and the way that they view the world and to really validate that. And I know you work deeply in social emotional learning and I follow the Castle framework. And so for me, that's around self-awareness, the strengths, your identity, your sense of purpose. And you just modeled the growth mindset by saying yet, but I also believe in that the energy that you put out in the world comes back. Like I believe in this kind of cyclical piece. And so being very mindful about how you're showing up in the world and how you're fueling the young generation, I think is really important. And you mentioned some creative tools that you use with young people. And I'm wondering if you would be willing to maybe share one of those tools, perhaps that helps our students really recognize their strengths or validates who they are and allows them to see a pathway that maybe they didn't know was accessible to them before.
Yeah. And you know what I can do? I can create a link to the piece that I'm describing. I'll have my assistant make it into a PDF and then I'll give it to you and we can give it to your listeners as a downloadable for free, because it isn't just for classrooms, but I call it the big love map. And you put a big heart in the center of a piece of paper, right? And then spokes off of it with hearts, or kids can decorate it however they want. But they use this love map to begin to identify who they know they are from the inside out. So, for example, a child might say, I'm athletic, I'm creative, I'm a strong reader. Like any of their I ams, we teach them early on. Can you imagine if we taught kids early on how to use affirmations? So anyway, the thing that's beautiful about the love map is they make it, they decorate it, you tape it to their desk, or you put it on the fridge, or you put it on their wall, however you want to do it. And kids read it over and over and over, and it's a long-term imprint. Now, here's another magical part of it. Let's say a child's like, I don't know. I mean, that happens. Some kids don't know who they are. And then they go to the front of the classroom, and I used to put like a big heart on the whiteboard or whatever it was. And then I would have other kids identify what they see in that student, right? And then the student turns around, they're like, I am a good friend. You know, you can see them light up. And it's really a magical gift to give to every child, to have every child go in front and have the other kids say things. It's a different process too, to have the kids identify it themselves. But both are strong and both are valuable. And I'll make sure I create it and send you guys a PDF.
Thank you. That would be amazing.
I've hand done all of these the whole time. I hand did them. But my assistant can make it look like much better than I can. So
I would, I mean, I am blown away, and I have to be honest, I was spending a little bit of time on your Facebook. I mean, you are, if people could just see some of the hard work that you've invested over years. I mean, and you could keep scrolling, but some of the things that I love that I see, I'm making a leap that you're also an artist as well, because there's so much fun. I mean, so many things that really resonate and stimulate me. But you have one quote: "Don't believe your feelings, believe your values, then create value." And how is that showing up with the young people you serve, or the educators you serve, or just in your day-to-day work? I would love to hear a little bit more about that. And if you want to talk about some of your art as well, I mean, that's phenomenal. But I would just love to hear more about how is that resonating today.
So I love that quote, because if we choose to believe our feelings change. They come and go, just like the weather. It just comes and goes and changes. But our values, once we get connected to our core values, then, and we have an imprint of that, and we follow that, that's another branch off of the social emotional learning tree, right? Because we are leading with something that has more grit or resiliency. Our values do. Feelings come and go, right? One moment we see kids in the classroom. One moment they're in a fight, and then the next moment they're best friends again. I mean, I've had that when I was a little kid. And so I think it's important for kids to really start to tune in, kids and adults and teachers and administrators, right? Tune in, what are my values and how do I lead with that, rather than our feelings? And I describe it like this, like, if we're afraid it's going to rain, it would mean probably that we have to carry around an umbrella all of the time. Now that's crazy. No one's going to carry around an umbrella all the time, and it's not going to rain all the time. And if we lead with our values, which is, I am resourceful, then if it rains, I know how to go undercover, or I know how to go to my car and get my umbrella, or I know I can put a really tiny rain poncho in my backpack and I can use it if it rains. So the feelings would be carrying around the umbrella all the time. The values would be, I'm resourceful and I'm a problem solver, right? I can solve that problem if it were to rain. And so then sometimes when I may have a quote, I go to my iPad and I do my art. And I'm very sad to say that my iPad that had years of art, all of my art, like books and things I'd written and things I had designed and things I'd created, and I lost it all at the beginning of the year. And it taught me to release, surrender, time to create new. And so I appreciate you saying that. And I didn't think about, I really appreciate, because I can go back through Facebook and regather some of that art. So I've saved some of it from old, places, but thank you for recognizing it. It's interesting because I come from a family of, I don't want to use this word that I have often said in the past, real artists, because I too am a real artist, but I come from a family where their art is phenomenal. And so it's taken a lot in my adult life to step into. My art is great too, wonderful too, okay too, So thank you for saying that.
No, I'm looking that you have one that says healing is a verb. I'm like, oh my God, okay. Like that alone could be a podcast by itself. Healing is a verb. It's not a finish line. Like there's so many nuggets and gems we could
go back and look. I'm going to go back and look. That's great. Isn't that true though, you guys? Yeah. Healing is a verb. And here's a teaching that I give that's a great social emotional learning teaching and a great teaching in education, that there's no such thing as going forward and back. Like we don't take 3 steps forward and 2 steps back. It's not even scientific. It's all a spiral going up and up and up. And, I had a client say to me the other day, I feel like I'm going back to my old ways. And I said, well, it's impossible because it's April 2023. You've never been here before with the tools in your toolbox. So it's literally impossible to go 3 steps back. It's all up and up and up on a spiral, and we're on a new rung. We may be talking about the same issues, right? Think of our young ones. Their family situations don't change day in and day out necessarily. And they may feel differently, or they may feel like they have more tools in their toolbox. But if they're going back into a family system that is less healthy or less communicative or has less means, that's hard. We have to have compassion and empathy for that while providing them with new tools on how to really survive and thrive in that. Right.
I think there's so many thoughts I have going on. And I think one of them, with more recently what you've said, and Craig brought up, is that the healing is a journey piece. And I spent so much of my life like wanting to get to a certain point because I thought it would be better then, or like the way I imagine it to be, like that there's an end point. And it's taken me really in the last maybe 15 years to embrace that it is a process and to not get tied up in there being an end point, because that the energy, I think, is what I'm trying to say, is the energy that you think like, okay, this is a journey, like this is just what it is. When you get your brain wrapped around that, I feel like it's more of a ride that you can have some control over, as opposed to like, oh God, this is going on forever, right? So that this is life, this is a part of it, and embracing that journey so that you're not missing it, waiting to get to your destination.
Beautiful. That's beautifully said. Oh, I'm going to use that. I work with these 30-something, young, late 20s, early 30 men and women who are struggling finding a partner, right? And what if I'm all alone? And I said, well, then come and I'll be in my rocking chair and you'll tell me at the very last bit of my life, you'll tell me if you were all alone or not. But we got work to do right here and right now. Like that's forever away, right?
When you were talking about your values, and the Dare to Lead book was, to me, like one of the top 5 books that everybody needs to read. And I held it up for you. I have sticky notes all throughout it. Like I counted up and there's at least 40 of them that I go back.
I should show you my copy too. I'm with you, girlfriend. That is it.
And I think one of the pieces that really resonated with me was how to determine your values. That process was in this book because people would say, "Oh, what are your values?" And I'd be like, "Oh, what's important to me today?" And I'd be like, "Well, my family is always important to me." But and but going through that process and thinking about what are my two values, it's learning and courage. So knowing that there is a journey, and then courage that once I've learned something new to integrate it and do something with it. And the part that I really appreciate that she had in the book was that having an accountability group or your square squad that can, I think, tell you when you're starting to slip out of those core values and remind you of what they were. Right. And so you think about, what does this look like when I'm not living into my values? And because sometimes we need to pull each other back a little bit because we're so in it that we're not seeing the big picture. And so I think my question then is, what are your values, if you wouldn't mind sharing, and how do you make them a routine part of your processes when it comes to like social emotional learning, and how do you use them to guide you?
I can't believe you're asking me that, because I just spent the hour before I worked with both of you on a whole new values piece that I'm working with another coach developing. And so I really had to get in there. And before I answer that, can I give you a tip about, because you brought your two core values of learning and courage, right? And I think a key teaching moment about our values is looking at, where am I in balance and where am I out of balance with learning or with courage? Let's use your two as an example, right? And when we have, and Craig will understand this, when you have an overdeveloped muscle in front, it's usually an underdeveloped muscle in back, right? And you've got to get like your quads and your hamstrings balanced it the same way, or your biceps and your triceps, right? We need to make sure that our learning, so for example, if your learning is overdeveloped, then you just keep taking course after course after course before you step into your own power to teach others or to lead others. You think, oh, I just need one more course, right? And if it's underdeveloped, it's, maybe way too much Netflix and not enough reading or learning in your free time. That's just a little lesson to myself, right? And so what I encourage you to do is to look through that values list again. I could probably tell you what page it is on because mine's so dog-eared. And I would like circle 4 other values on the list that you would like to see yourself strengthen so that you know that learning is really solid, right? So it might be, for example, reading, right? All of us, like probably all of us, need more time with reading. And that would be a building block to strengthening this value of yours of learning. So that's how I tie it into social emotional learning. Like, we can have our strong values, but we also get to look at what we need to develop even more, even though those are our core values.
Oh, I love that.
I just led a group of women in getting them Dare to Lead trained. And it was a 4-day workshop retreat. And we did this cool exercise with blocks. And we put our values on it. And then we added what we need to build to strengthen it. It doesn't mean it's not there. It just means we want to bump it up a bit, right? One of my core values is teamwork. And I just heard a really cool thing, which is sometimes our value is based on something that we didn't get as a kid. I mean, this is a whole new set of teaching that I'm just starting to develop, understand, and this woman's developed it. And I'm like, wow, so where would that be true for me with teamwork? Well, it's so true for me and my family of origin, where it wasn't teamwork. There was a lot of division. So naturally, my value would come out of the wound of that. So it's interesting if we start to slow down and ask ourselves about that, right?
Yeah, thank you. That's definitely some processing that I'm going to be entering into. And if you don't mind, Lisa, I'm curious, Craig, have you done the values work in the Dare to Lead?
I have not.
Okay.
I'm certain he's done values work, though, as the tip top principal.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm curious. Yeah, what comes to mind for you? If and we can cut this part out if you're not wanting.
No, I don't. I don't have a. I don't have a. I think that when I look at the Brene Brown, who has, I mean, a huge number of values, and I do understand that a lot of this can uh, amplify in your example much more, depending on where you are in life at moment to moment. So for me, as I think about, well, what is it that I hope people experience in their time with me? Um, I'm really hopeful that people feel a sense of like wholeheartedness, that um, my engagement is really centered on connection. And that's really, important at this time. I know for myself, I am really beholden to safety. And that's just because there's so many things going on in my sphere that leaning into that for myself from a preservation perspective and just more of an introspection on what's going on and how is it that I can help get clarity, but also continue to not allow the things of the world to dim or quell my flame or the light that's inside of me. Like I'm working through that. So I think that as I look at Brene Brown, who has, you know, it looks like about 100. Those are the things that kind of surface right now for me, even though there's
Yeah, and
others as well.
she encourages you to pick out just two, but there's something where you just said safety
Mm-hmm.
that had me realize the piece around privilege too.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I've never thought about safety in terms of my work, but I think about safety in the world. I was a very anxious kid. It's interesting that I wrote a children's book about anxiety, which I never thought was my biography, but after it was published and out, I was like, oh my God, that's my own story. It never even dawned on me when I was writing it. But safety is a concern, a very deep personal concern, but not something in my body of work, because it's like naturally I believe that I help people feel safe because I adhere to my word. I hold confidentiality. I work with compassion, so I just so appreciate you saying safety, because I want to think about that more.
Mm-hmm. I would love to hear a little bit more, and I know our listeners would love to learn a little bit more about my Hearty Kid. Could you tell us a little bit more so we can know what is going on there? How can our kids get signed up or be part of my Hearty Kid?
Well, when this little girl, Ella, when I made her this Hearty toy, I turned it into a toy that got passed around in the classroom. So it wasn't a teacher-initiated toy. It was a kid-initiated toy. And it wasn't based on, oh, you were good today or you were not good today. It was based on whomever had the toy could pass it on to another kid who wanted the toy to feel I am brave, right? And then I started teaching about these things like how to, affirmations, gratitude, how to ignite self-care. And I created this whole thing about intuition, which I called SHU. So it was like intuition, but it was a play on words, but it was all about having kids start to tap into where and when they feel safe or unsafe. Now, since then, it's been very interesting conversation with my teenagers who are now grown, 17 and 19, about what they felt like I ignited in them when they were little. If they thought that I sort of had ignited a lot of fear in them, but I was just trying to wake up that gut sense that when you don't feel okay, how do you take care of yourself, right? You're in a grocery store and someone's bugging you or is weird. Where do you go to take care of yourself and how to ignite that? So this whole program, my Hearty Kid, I would go into the classroom and I would teach it. And on the website, myheartykid.com, you can see that kids started to learn to play with talking about themselves. Like, I am beautiful. I have this whole great circle, and there's a wonderful little MP3 on there about kids saying I am beautiful, and they feel so uncomfortable and so silly, and they all wanted to do it, and they all loved doing it. And one teacher took a whole day out of her curriculum and classroom for kids to share what their gifts were with their fellow classmates, right? And I would go in and talk about all of their I ams. We would do a whole day on I am, and I would get to the classroom and I would say, what's your I am, Craig? And you would say, I am the safety king, and then the next child, and everybody would go around and declare their I am. And I loved it so much. It was so wonderful. So I created a workbook for kids, a workbook for teachers, a guidebook for parents and mentors, right? Because not all kids have parents, some aunties, uncles, grandpas. So I put parents and mentors. And then I created the website, and then I created a card game. It's called Love Big. And I'd love to send you both one, which you'll give me your address, and I will. And it's 52 questions that kids can ask each other. But I always took it on vacation with my kids, and that's what we would do at dinner, right? What's something that makes you feel afraid? What's something that ignites joy in you? Have you ever traveled? When's the last time you made a phone call? Do you know what, like, my kids are like, phone? What's a phone? That was pretty funny. But all these wonderful questions. What do you like best about yourself? Where do you feel safe? Who's a safe person for you to talk to? Like, these are critical questions to ask kids to grow a sense of self and to listen to one another. So I think it's magical, Craig, that we met, because it's been on my weekly vision board. Like, how am I going to grow my Hearty Kid again? Because I work more than full time and raise, my family. And I'm like, it's okay. It'll come. It'll come. I know it's coming. It's, I don't know necessarily that the toy needs to be a part of it anymore, but certainly asking kids these pertinent questions and having fun with it, and having someone like me come into your classroom and just be playful and artistic and creative. It makes an imprint on kids. I don't know why it's not a part of everyone's curriculum, but one day.
I think just hearing, and I was a high school teacher, I feel that there's something that happens with our kids as they get older where they're feeling like they're not validated. They're not, and I understand that there's a growth piece that happens where they start to kind of figure out who they are and listen more to friends and what's happening. But I really would love to continue to build that I am, and have students stand in their truth and in who they are, and be able to come into school, into classrooms, being themselves and knowing that who they say they are is validated. I think that that's something that was always very important to me as a high school teacher. And so what could this look like to continue that? Because sometimes I feel that in secondary ed, we're like, oh, the kids get this by now. And we don't continue that growth with them, where I think it's a lifelong journey. Even at 45 going on 46, I'm still trying to figure out my I ams and stand in that with conviction.
Well, I think probably your I ams and stand in your I ams that with conviction, but to have the courage to really claim them and own them and be in them. That's it. Because your I ams. I've listened to your fabulous interviews. I've listened about you. Yeah. And really claiming that, right? What you're doing with the podcast. You do that with each and every episode.
Well, I think I can maybe speak for Craig and I and say that I think one of the reasons, probably the main reason why we love doing this is because we get to meet and share our connections and get to talk to people like you, because I love your enthusiasm and your passion. And I know my Hearty Kid we're going to look back and be like, yep, we talked to her. We knew this was coming. We called it. But
it is, it will. And, all in due time. The world is ready when the world is ready. And I don't know. I'm excited to see where the light will open on this.
What do you feel is your superpower at this time?
No, I know that my superpower is my intuition. It's been there since I was a little girl, and it never fails me. And it's always there. I'll say something to someone like, how did you know that? And I just, what a gift. What a gift. Too, like my big love and my big heart, this is who I am in the morning. This is who I am at night. And there are a couple of people who wouldn't say that's how I am, but that's like family members or someone, I was kind of more cranky with family members, but I'm a pretty positive person. I really just want to be out there helping in the world. And yeah, that's it.
Well, thank you.
Thank you so much.
What is the best way for people to connect with you who will hear this podcast, will see it in social media and get curious, want to learn more, connect with you, maybe bring you into their school or community? How do they do that?
I would love to help in any way I can. And so probably the best way is with my lisapeppersatkin.com website. And there's contact information. There's also contact information on my Hearty Kid. But I think the best way is my big umbrella, Lisa Pepper Satkin. And then I'll do what I can. I'll help however I can. For sure. For sure.
Thank you.
Oh. Oh my.
It has been
so much.
And getting a chance to talk.
Oh wow. All right. Well, SEL and EDU family, we have had the honor and pleasure of spending quality time with Lisa Pepper Satkin. Gotta check her out. All the ways that she shared, as well as ways that you're gonna see it on the website. So get connected. And I'm very serious about what I said. Like, if you just need a little dose of joy, just a little bit, and you can get a whole lot. And you can definitely check her out in these different vehicles. And like I said, I saw on Facebook, I love a lot of the art there too. So SEL and EDU family, until Chris and I, we will be back again, and we are so excited to spend not just this time, but even more time with you in future conversations. So until then, until we connect again, we want you to stay fluid and flexible in all that you do. Allow joy to fill your spirit, but make sure you hold someone dear, and that could be you, real tight. And do it with wholeheartedness and joy and love. And keep standing in the light. We love you. Y'all take care.